Hello and welcome to another episode of the Full Force Weekly, brought to you by GeneralsJoesReborn.com, with me as your host, Christopher McLeod AKA Diagnostik80. For today's episode, I'm all on my own. In this regular video series, I round up all the week's news in the world of G.I. Joe. What is it, me? It's the Full Force Weekly. Hello, good morning, and welcome to the Full Force Weekly, brought to you by GeneralsJoesReborn.com, with me, Christopher McLeod, aka Diagnostik80. How is everyone doing this morning? I know it's a little bit of an early one, and I know I'm obviously on my own again. It's just me, no Pat again. This is getting too normalized now. We need Pat in our lives again. I hope everyone's doing well in the chat and the comments. Loads of you in there already. It's been a busy week for G.I. Joe. I mean, I've done about 6 or 7 videos, I think, this week. Not all news bursts, of course, but you know, unboxings and Let's Talk Classified Leatherneck and an Intel kind of for patrons and so on and so forth. So it's and of course news bursts and multiple news this week. It's been crazy. Anyway, I hope everyone's doing really well. What we're saying in the chat at the moment. This splash page looks to be a PSA warning about serving spicy chili from the mess hall last night. Yeah, that's Brian's choice. We usually kind of connect on what the title card's going to look like. And if you see it on YouTube, the little thumbnail, then I usually say Brian, as long as it has this character in it, and then he comes back with an absolute banger every time. And I said, yeah, could you get Doc in there this time? Because we've got those Doc kind of pre-production pieces to talk about. And he was like, yeah, sure. And then we get that awesome thumbnail. So thanks to Brian on that one, getting a shout out at the beginning as opposed to the end today. Nothing like the Full Force Weekly while still at work. Oh, sorry, Hydrus, that sucks. Everyone give a like before it starts. Yeah, absolutely. Pastor Proggy set an alarm for this. Nice one. Morning Figure 6-pack. Morning Death Valley Machine. Morning, everybody. Hope everyone's doing well. Hello, Mark. Talking Joe. Chris has killed Pat. He needs to come clean. I haven't, I swear. But they're not. The killer would say that, wouldn't they? Who's Pat? Yeah, that's true. If you're kind of new to the show, then you probably don't know who Pat is at the moment, because he's hardly been on because of our availability issues. The truth is, Pat wanted more money. Yeah, that's true. Are we sure Pat's not actually kidnapped by Cobra and the guy on the screen is just a Fred? I'm Fred McLeod, absolutely. Pat should be here because it's too early for Naked HD. It's so true. Anyway, I've got a work thing starting in an hour. Otherwise, I wouldn't be up this early on a Saturday. But at least, hey, at least you get to squeeze in a bit of the full force before then, eh, Matt? Next time Pat is on, it can be billed as a grand reunion. Yeah, it might have to be. I've not even seen Tap in the comments recently. Exactly, Toys of the Jedi. Anyway, lots to get through this morning. So let's get stuck into it. We'll start with a bit of comics news. Yes, the SKYBOUND era continues to impress with not only the content of their fantastic issues for the Energon universe and A Real American Hero, but also their sales. With sellouts of issues 301 to 303, we are getting more reprints in turn, more new variant covers. SKYBOUND have revealed a Cobra Commander and Maggot cover by Eduardo Pansica, Julio Ferreira and Adriano Lucas for 301. A Jinx versus Ali Viper cover by Ig Guara and Francesco Segala for 302, and Duke versus Cobra Troopers by Jacob Edgar for 303. In addition to those, they also revealed that Paul Pelletier will be a guest artist for issue 306, hitting stores in May. Of course, Paul being quite famous, really, with Marvel and DC. He's done a lot of work. But let's start with the Real American Hero reprints and, of course, the variant covers. Now, I did talk about these in the week, so not a great deal more to go into, but I'll pick out the kind of main points. Ryan Daly says, Paul is an awesome artist. Can't wait to see that issue. And RKW says, I need that Zartan image as a poster. Yeah, we'll get to that in this. We'll get to some of the, because there's been more kind of shared of Paul's work for that issue as well, which is really cool. But yes, so we'll start with issue 301, third printing cover A by Eduardo Pansica, Ferreira, and Adriano Lucas, featuring Cobra Commander and not the Hiss Tank. That was an error in copy. The Eduardo absolutely knows that he's drawing the maggot and was fully aware of that. But that is an absolute banger. And one thing I mentioned about this, like a couple of days ago, is the fact that you very rarely see the maggot or any of its subsequent pieces on covers. Like, I can't think of many. I mean, if you are a proper comics nerd, you'll probably be able to pick them out. But do we have any covers with maggots on them? I genuinely can't think of any. That doesn't mean they don't exist, because, like, obviously it was a big deal back then as to when a new vehicle was out, it would have some representation either in the cartoon or on the comics. The kind of classic advertising and marketing. So yeah, it is really nice seeing the maggot on a cover Death Valley machine. It really is. And it's drawn so beautifully as well. Oh yeah, that's a good point actually, Matthew. You think there was an IDW cover with one? Only Fishing Weekly. I like it, RKW. You only see maggots on Fishing Weekly. It was rarely used at all. Yeah, it's hardly used. Man, what is it that Fast Draw battles? I think they're front maggot pieces. I think there are maggot pieces in issue, what would it be, 15 of European Missions, or what would have been Action Force Monthly for us. I think Fast Draw's facing off against maggot pieces. I think they're the front sections of maggots, but I can't remember off the top of my head. Anyway, yeah, it's really cool to see this. I'm really into this, and it just looks really good. Like, if you look at the cover as well, like the shape of Cobra Commander, and that's a really cool updated kind of design. The helmet's got like a snake sort of like sculpted kind of head motif going on the top, almost like, ridges of where the eyes would be. It's really cool, and obviously the cape looks amazing. It's drawn in such a way that it just looks that cape looks real heavy, doesn't it? It looks really kind of like heavy duty. It's just beautifully done. Has there been any collected reprints of Action Force? No, Pastor Pierogi, there have not. You can only get can back issues of them, basically. But I believe Rebellion own the rights to those comics. And yeah, I just never been done. Obviously, there are kind of scans of them, of those particular comics online, and have been for years. So it's probably not worth it for them, probably, to do that, considering they're so easily available. But I've always said I'd love a collected edition of Action Force Weekly and Monthly. Two separate collected editions. Or even multiple. I don't know. You could probably collect all of the, like, the 15 issues would be like a collected edition, but the 50 issues of Action Force Weekly might need a couple. Yeah, it might need like 3 editions or something like that. In any case, love this cover, absolute beauty. Oh, here we go. Ryan says the maggot is on the cover to 209, which is a sort of homage to G.I. Joe 1, but with Cobra characters. Thank you, Ryan. Perfect. Didn't the maggots feature one coat on Cobra Civil? Oh, yeah. I'm sure they've been in the comics. Absolutely, definitely. But I'm talking about cover situations here. So 209 is a good shout. I want to kind of look at that as well while we're here, because I don't recall it. A Real American Hero 209. It's come up with some weird. I should put G.I. Joe. Let's put G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero 209. There we go. Yeah, that's a banger. Yeah, there you go. So you've got the the maggot on the front of there, and it is like, yeah, it's like a Cobra version of issue 1, isn't it? Very cool. Destro and his Despoiler. What's funny about Destro and his Despoiler in the corner there is it's Destro regular flavor. It's not Iron Grenadiers Destro. But again, it doesn't have to be. He doesn't have to wear that uniform to operate his Despoiler. It's just interesting that. Yeah, so if anyone else finds or notices another cover that features the maggot, then please throw it in here. That's great. Mike says, I'm all for variant covers, reprints, etc. Me too. That's not IDW 209, was it not? What was I looking at? It says IDW 209 on it in the top corner. It might just be a variant issue, but it's IDW 209. Look. In any case, yeah, it probably would have just been like a variant cover for it. If Cobra Commander has this cover with the maggot, I'm hoping they do a variant cover with Duke and the Mean Dog. That's a good shout. That is a good shout, actually, because again, the maggot and the Mean Dog are sort of like ultimate enemies, aren't they? They're kind of like not mirror images, but they're kind of very similar structures and features and stuff, like big like vehicles that kind of split into different segments with two big kind of gun emplacements. Good morning, Anything Joes. How are you doing? So there is that's Cobra Commander. That's Eduardo Pansica's cover, which is absolutely fantastic. Lovely stuff. And then, of course, we have Jinx and the Alley Viper fighting for 302. Now, this is the third printing cover A by Ig Guara and Francesco Segala. And this is another beauty. This is another one that I'm like really into. I love the composition of this one. I love the energy, the dynamism. Just really, really awesome. And of course, the color on this one is great because you've got Jinx, who is like, just all red, different kind of shades as the shadow kind of falls on her and everything. I kind of like the kind of brown almost that they utilize for the kind of like the collar, the belts, and all that kind of stuff as well. And then you've got the Alley Viper, which is that orange and blue, which again, they're still quite subdued. It's not like crazy bright, but there's just a lot of nice color on this one. And of course, getting the faceplate kicked off as well is pretty gnarly. And it's great that they've managed to kind of fill the page with these two characters in this pose. It's just really good. And then of course you've got all of the kind of background, that kind of color in the background allows those two characters to really like stand out on the page. And you got the kind of cuts and swishes and movement and everything. It's really good. Absolute beauty. I like the fact that Jinx has got her hair out and it's just flowing all over the place, like long hair Jinx. And yeah, it's just a really good. I'm really into this issue, and him even dropping his knife as well as he gets kicked so hard in the face. Yeah, he's out. And I also like the fact that Jinx is holding her kind of like staff. I'm gonna call it a staff from now on because it's not a Naginata, even though Naginata is how it's described on the file, on the card art, on the weapons description, the accessories description. It's like it's like a hybrid of long, elaborate weapons in kind of like in like Japanese kind of culture or what have you, or weapons culture. It might it might be something that was found elsewhere. It might be like it might not be Japanese origin, but I would imagine that was the intention, was to kind of I'd love to know what they referenced with that particular that kind of staff that she has. It's so cool. Just so I could find out what the bloody real name is for it, if it does exist. But it's really cool, and it's definitely iconic to Jinx. It's definitely like no other character has something like that, in my opinion. And so she's holding that across her shoulder as well, which I really like too. Really neat. Kind of giving me a Kiko vibes. I know people, I'm just going to bring up sore wounds for people. But yeah, I think I remember Akiko kind of with the staff over her shoulders as well. That was a cool little scene. But anyway, Jinx kicking an alley viper in the face, another cracking cover for 302. And then we have Duke versus the Troopers by Jacob Edgar. Now, this one we discussed as well in the week, and it was really kind of like I just like the kind of almost like nostalgic, not nostalgic, the vintage feel of this one. It's got a propaganda poster sort of vibe. It's got like I think someone said golden age on the show previous, and it does have that feeling to it, like a Marvel golden age sort of issue. The just the way that the characters are drawn. It's got a little bit of a Johnny Quest vibe. Um, dare I say it, like a if Venture Brothers was done back then, which is what Johnny Quest is pretty much, and lots of other references that they utilize, but it definitely has that feel of a golden age sort of design, and I really like it, including the motorcycle, which looks real like World War bloody II, doesn't it? It's such a specific sort of vibe, and I think they've nailed it on that one 100%. Just checked, and the and the maggot appeared 11 times in A Real American Hero, no covers. Interesting. Apart from two, yeah, in the first run, 1 to 155. Thank you very much, Death Valley Machine. This is why we have crowdsourcing in the comments. But yeah, this is a beauty. Really into this one as well. I mean, just 3 fantastic variant covers, and yeah, really into them. Now, the other bit of news is that guest artist Paul Pelletier is going to be taking over on 306, which I think is out in, did I say May? I think I said May. It's gonna be May. What did I say it was going to be out? Yeah, in May, in stores in May. So yeah, again, and what we've seen art-wise from him for this is absolutely gorgeous. I think Chris needs coffee. I need more than that. I would have tea. I'd have tea. He looks like Duke looks like Steve McQueen from The Great Escape, John, and that previous image. Yeah, big time. Look at this Sartan artwork. It's amazing. Anyway, it looks like he's on his swamp skier and he's being followed by what looks to be a massive torpedo missile that's going to take him out. Let's see what happens, because yes, we have got more kind of like panels for this particular issue. I wonder if it's going to be a silent issue. I know you don't necessarily have many. I mean, there's space for speech bubbles if he is saying stuff here, but I wonder if it's going to be some sort of like silent issue style thing. Oh yeah, that's a good shout. Penny Rooster Reviews. Happy birthday to Generals Joe's Justin Bell, indeed. I should have said that to start with, shouldn't I? Yes. Happy birthday, Justin Bell. Doesn't look I mean, he doesn't look 80, does he? He probably feels it. Anyway, yeah, I really like this this particular like movement of panels as well. He's kind of like avoiding this missile. He jumps up, grabs the branch in classic movie trope style, flips up, the missile goes through and promptly takes out his what do you call it? His swamp skier. What is interesting here is I wonder if this is an homage to when he carries his swamp skier in that giant box. It's like, because that's in pieces, isn't it? I hope that in this issue we see him dragging his swamp skier back to the lair or whatever, to the hideout in a box. How funny would that be? That would be amazing, and it would be such a good homage if they do it. Anyway, and then as he's looking around, as he's looking at his destroyed swamp skier, he looks at a piece of it. I'm not sure what that is signifying. Do we know what that's signifying, guys? But anyway, really cool. Really excited to see this one, and yeah, I'm hoping that there's going to be. It's interesting if it might be like a silent issue. That'd be kind of that'd be kind of fun, and it would kind of make sense if they're doing something like that with a guest artist as well. Like, you know, it makes sense to do something like that if it's like going to be a different style. Yeah, but again, it's looking really tight, and it doesn't look out of place from a Real American Hero. I think there might be like an idea here to try and keep a stylistic consistency at least. You know, at least with the coloring as well. But it looks great, and I can't wait to see this issue. Right. Perfect looking Zartan, says Paul. That is Zartan. Looks perfect, says Yorktown J. Everyone's really excited here by the looks of things. You would not be saying much either if dodging a missile. Exactly. That's what I'm kind of guessing. Maybe it might not be, and maybe it's not. But it kind of just, you know, the fact that we've got 3 pages here, and yeah, I know we do see pages sometimes before the lettering gets done and the speech bubbles are added. But I don't know. I'm wondering if it could be. Any chance that issue 221 may be a future silent issue? That would probably happen. I could see that happening, honestly, figure 6-pack. What issue are we on at the moment? Well, we've passed that, so it would have to be 321, wouldn't it? Yeah, we're way past 221. GMGAGE, wherever you may be, everyone. Hello, Chris. Hello, Ray. Right. Oh, all the different time zones. I'd be talking a lot while dodging and failing to do so. A missile, yeah, you'd be like sugar plums. Yeah, there'd be swear words coming out of my mouth, I think, trying to avoid a missile. Anyway, that is the comics news this week. Very exciting. Just in general, we've got Cobra Commander dropping, I think, on, is it Wednesday? Oh, man, Cobra Commander issue 2. I cannot wait. I'm really enjoying the Energon universe, but I'm also really enjoying the Real American Hero universe, and I just want more. Keep them coming. I want miniseries. I want character spotlights. I want special missions. I want all of it. I want them to do all of it. I want like a Sunbow recreation, even though they're kind of probably not going to do that because they wanted a clean run at everything. You know, you never know. They might do something like that in the future, and I'd be here for it. I'm tired. It's the morning. New run is awesome. Cobra Commander book was excellent, says Daniel. Yeah, I can't wait. Did you see Energon Universe comic on Free Comic Book Day? I haven't yet, Daniel. But that I will check it out. I think they're both coming out on Wednesday. Of course, it's going to be like an absolute double. It's an absolute double whammingtons, isn't it? Rumor has it Lightfoot makes an appearance in Coco too. Thanks, Paul, for doing that and then JKing it. These new comics can't come fast enough, says Hydrus. 321 might be Firefly's favorite countdown. Yeah, exactly. 3, 2, 1. I'd go for a Deke spin-off. Actually, Paul, past the progress, sorry. That is not a bad shout. Because you could do like a fun really tongue-in-cheek, like, you know, Sunbow has its kind of, you know, craziness, but Deke is like almost like slapstick, you know, funny noises, kind of comical, isn't it? How many issues is Cobra Commander slated for? I want to say 5, but it could be more. Is it 5 or 8? I think it's 5. Sometimes it just waters it down when there's too many books. This is a good amount of books. I get that, Ray. I get that. But the thing is, we're not going to have, you know, the miniseries of Cobra and Duke aren't going to be forever. So it'll move on for like until an ongoing. And then we'll just have 2 ongoings, which is effectively what we have. Duke and Cobra Commander in the same universe. So it's effectively just the same thing. But I definitely want to see more from this company than 2 comics, because like G.I. Joe specifically, because there are going to be lots of people that won't buy Transformers and Void Rivals and all that kind of stuff, and I get that. You know, you just want to kind of keep it Joe, and that's totally fine. And that is really, you know, like a ploy from the company to try and, you know, to do these crossovers to get more sales, you know, in either directions, and that's totally fine as well. I get that, I understand it, but I also enjoy the crossover stuff. But yeah, I'd love to see them do future character miniseries. They are really good, Ray. They are. The Transformers books are amazing at the moment as well. we could see those kids that stopped Cobra out of school all grown up. Yeah. I too wish that the Sunbow comic was a thing. That would be awesome. Yeah, it was just, I mean, it was really good. They did such a great job with that before losing the license, IDW. Yes, so Robert H says, aren't there supposed to be 2 more character-specific minis after Duke and Cobra Commander? That has been stated, yes. What I'm talking about, though, is if you've got your ongoings, right? You've got your kind of like universe ongoing situation. I want to see like a special missions. I want to see, and special missions could be a spin-off of A Real American Hero, as it has been in the past. It doesn't have to be a spin-off of the Energon universe. Um, I want to see like tons of stuff coming out of this company because they're just doing it so well. It's great. I'm not a huge fan of Transformers, but this run is really good. Actually, look forward to it more than GI Joe sometimes. It's that's when you know they've got some good stuff going on. And yeah, and I can't wait to read even more. But I think, yeah, special missions, Paul, 100%. There's something about special missions which is just magical to me. I've read it so many times through as well. Like it's that run. It's only what 20 something issues, but it's just so good. And I think they've tried to do it since is it IDW tried? Was it Devil's Due tried when it was like Manhattan, Tokyo, Antarctica? They were fun and all, but they didn't really keep going with it, which was a shame. Anyway, that's comics news. Let's move on to the news that you all are waiting for, and that is a bit of movie news. Bam, bam. Bam, bam. It's funny as I was playing that music, the amount of people that have commented, I'm not a huge Transformers fan. I'm not a big Transformers fan. It's really funny. It's like perfect timing. Anyway, yeah, I noticed there are not many big Transformers fans in the chat. There are some. I know that there are many big Transformers fans in the chat. It's just one of those things, isn't it? It's like it's the same in the Transformers fandom. If your major fandom is Transformers, there's often a kind of like aversion to having GI Joe kind of coming in and like joining up without them, like without invitation, sort of thing. And I get it. I understand. I kind of understand that. Personally, though, from my point of view, I'm just like, I'll have it all. Throw it all together. Let's enjoy it. Let's see what's going on. Let's have it. I think they're going to want to hover at about 5 titles on the stand at any one time across TF Joe, Energon Universe. Yeah, that cool. But again, A Real American Hero can have a spin-off, surely. Surely. But anyway, maybe that's where some other companies have gone wrong in the past by trying to do too much. But then like quantity over quality in a lot of cases. But at least at the moment, it's more quality. Anyway, it's movie talk time, so change your thought process, guys. Yes, so LDB, or Lorenzo di Bonaventura, has been discussing, albeit rather briefly, the Transformers G.I. Joe movie crossover during press for Madame Web. The producer had the following to say after he was asked about the progress of the crossover. The honest truth is, I don't know. I know we are going to deliver on the promise we made. The full interview can be found on the Phase 1 YouTube channel, link in the description, but he doesn't say anything else, so I'm not sure how important it is for you to watch him say it. But yes, so he's been, like I said, he's been doing the Madam Web thing recently, and my word, has that movie been getting an absolute panning. I mean, what is it? Rotten Tomatoes scores really like 13% or something. It's crazy. Some of the scene, I saw like a Twitter post, kind of thread the other day. Two of them. One was a post that was like, here are the worst kind of dialogue scenes from the movie, and it was like 7 minutes long, and it was just some really poor dialogue. And then the other one was was like a thread of the marketing campaign, and like how interesting it was that after the first trailer dropped, Dakota Johnson dropped her company, her like media company or whatever, like, you know, for that does her sort of press and everything. And it's just crazy, crazy to me. And it's funny, isn't it, that all of these films, these kind of like lackluster, you know, not great sort of films, it just get attached to Lorenzo de Bonaventura now. And like, I feel like he was on like what I think has happened here is that, you know, Transformers did so well originally and like had huge amounts of money pouring in. But like, I feel like no development or progression has happened in that sphere. Do you know what I mean? Like, the first movie kind of has aged really well, but the other ones just like, well, let me kind of reword that. I feel like the other films have not taken what was done in Transformers 1 and kind of developed it and moved it along and done new things with it. It's just, it's either gone really formulaic, or what they've done is they've extended the size of the movie, like the runtime. They've increased the runtime, and they've just thrown in more of the things that they thought worked in the first movie. So it's like they crank up the comical side character, and they just ramp up the humor, and then there's a comical side character, but then everyone is comical. Do you know what I mean? Like, everyone is just saying stupid things and saying one-liners and saying, and then it kind of gets to the point where it's like, but these characters are supposed to be the serious characters. Why are all four of them like the Three Stooges right now? Like that. Why are they all like the Three Stooges right now? Do you know what I mean? It just doesn't make any sense. And then you've kind of got like the designs never really properly changed enough for me to be like, yeah, that's better. Like, why is it that they keep doing the proportions a little bit weird? And, you know, you've got like, some of them have got really tiny heads for no reason. And that is something it's always made me laugh about some of the Transformers in those designs. And, you know, obviously there was like that initial, in the first movie, we got some really good stuff. Like the blackout transformation is perfect. Starscream transforming in the street overhead of those people and then flying off is one of the best shots in cinematic history, in my opinion. I love that when he just goes and just flips and then flies off, and you just see everything from like their perspective on the ground, looking up at another person, looking up at you. It's just awesome. And that transformation of Blackout at the beginning, but then at the towards the end where it transforms in and they're in the alleyway looking out the alleyway, the military, and he kind of transforms, Blackout transforms and lands, and that is awesome. But then you also have a lot of the kind of spiky designs, too many transformation things going on at once, when it's just like, you know, you can make it way punchier and way more like impactful if it's just like, you know, and then off you go. But these are like, you know, and then like millions of things are moving on them. So it's, I don't know, it just seemed a little bit overdone. Do you know what I mean? And it was like, they were like, oh, this worked, let's just crank that up another 20 notches. And it's like, that's not, you've got to keep the balance. You've got to keep the formula is only a formula if you're keeping the same formula. If you're just going, if you just throw in more ingredients and make it a bigger cake, it's not always going to be right. And you're going to get, the balance is going to be off. And I think that's what's happened with that. Now, that said, Madam Web here, there was an opportunity with a really good cast, I would say, really, you know, solid cast, and you know, in the kind of universe. But the problem is, it really does stand out. The things that I've seen of that film really take it out of the MCU. Do you know what I mean? Like, obviously, it's not the same studio, of course, I know that, and it's not the same people doing it. but it just feels like completely different. It feels like Morbius. It feels like what was the other one that was very similar to it? Anyway, it feels like Morbius, and I'm pretty sure the writers are from Morbius as well. And it's like, my goodness, guys. Anyway, the reason I'm saying all of this is because it doesn't bode well, does it, when you see the same people at the helm each time? And I feel like it's not going to be, nothing's going to change. We're not going to get anything different. We're not going to get something that like really changes the game or develops anything. It's just going to be more of the same, because I feel like they're expecting somehow there to be a different response to it, and that's just not really the case. So I think until we get somebody new who comes in and does something different, like in a, like how Kevin Feige did the MCU, and how he decided to go about it and change it and mess around with it and add this and add that. And yes, that's another kind of like struggling kind of like movie dynasty. That is definitely one that's kind of struggling as well. But that's the other thing as well. Like the same again, there's only so much one person can do, right? I feel like the only person that doesn't really relate to is Donald Glover. I feel like he is like the dude just keeps cranking out absolutely amazing things, whether it's music, whether it's films, whether it's TV shows. Dude is just like amazing. But again, I'm sure he freshens it up. I'm sure he utilizes different writers and I know him and his brother do a lot of the work together, but like I'm sure there's a lot of things that go into that and make it different and make it good each time. And I feel like with this stuff, I feel like we just crank out the same sort of vibe, and it's going to be the same with Madam Web. I don't want to bag on it too hard because I haven't seen it in full. I've just seen like these snippets, and everything is like a little bit like, I don't know. And they've reused. I'm not sure if this was done on purpose, but I saw that he reused a scene from like was it the Amazing Spider-Man, or maybe one of the other original Spider-Man films, but I can't remember which one it was. But there's a scene where the camera pans up a building, and it's the exact same scene from that film. I'm not sure if it's one of those things where she's thinking through, like she's like connected to his vision as he's like going through the streets or whatever, or it's like a flashback to something. I don't know, but I'm willing to bet they just reused the scene because they thought people wouldn't notice. Yeah, it's a little bit like slapdash, rushed, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, this isn't about Madam Web, but it is because we're talking about the Transformers G.I. Joe crossover. And yet, like Bumblebee and Rise of the Beasts, I definitely preferred both of those movies to the previous, or what was it, like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? Is that right? My goodness, of Transformers. I preferred Bumblebee and Rise of the Beast, obviously, to those later Transformers movies. But who wouldn't? But they obviously weren't like commercial successes. Critically, they were a bit better. Well, Bumblebee was. Rise of the Beasts, there's aspects of it I'm kind of like, that was a missed opportunity, or that didn't, this is kind of feeling a little bit like, we're kind of slipping back into Age of Extinction kind of territory here. But overall, it was one I actually managed to watch all the way through in one sitting. And what was it, because I was excited to see the end scene? Maybe. I'm pretty sure I saw the end scene before I saw the whole movie, though. If I remember correctly, the end scene, of course, spoiler alert, is that Michael Kelly, the actor, not the character name, Agent Burke, he is speaking to Noah Diaz, character name, for an interview after all of the aftermath of the films happened. So he goes to get this job, or the interview for this job. Michael Kelly's there, have their little chat. Michael Kelly reveals to him that he knows exactly who he is, his family, what they've been doing, and then what he's been doing, and they really would like them to maybe help them join the fight. They kind of protect, you know, the planets, you know, from certain threats and all this kind of stuff. And then you see, yeah, and then he kind of like hands him a card, buggers off to the back wall, opens it, and goes into a warehouse full of, you know, Black Ops, G.I. Joe stuff going on in the background, including, I think, Scourge's spaceship, which is down there being worked on, being looked at. So they're obviously, you know, re-engineer or reverse engineering Cybertronian technology in that sense. It's got real Flight of the Navigator vibes, that has, you know, when they go in and try and get the ship back. Did anyone else feel that? Did anyone else remember that scene in Flight of the Navigator when he is he's kind of in the hospital part of the military hospital part of the movie towards the end, and they go and break in to try and get the ship back and everything? That's what it looked like when they opened the warehouse. I was like, oh look, we're back to Flight of the Navigator. Great movie, by the way. Anyway, so that happens, and then Noah looks at the card, flips it over because it says Agent Burke on one side, flips it over, and it's got the G.I. Joe logo on it. So obviously, you know, that's what they're doing. They're going hard. They've talked about it after the fact. Stephen Caple Jr. has discussed the fact that he pitched it and he wanted to do it, and he wanted to continue and do another Transformers movie that had some G.I. Joe elements incorporated. Lorenzo de Bonaventura has kind of confirmed those, you know, those kind of points. So this is effectively here. This is where the interviewer from Phase 1 on YouTube, Phase 0, sorry, on YouTube, said or asked, "Hey, what's going on with the Transformers G.I. Joe crossover? Any more kind of things you can talk about?" And Lorenzo de Bonaventura's response was, "The honest truth is, I don't know. I know we are going to deliver on the promise we made." So he's like, at this point, he doesn't know. Like, I think what he means there is, there's, based on what the question was, is he doesn't know any more than he did previously when discussing it. But he's saying then with another breath that he's saying that they will, though, however, go forward with it, and that they're going to deliver on that promise that they made. The promise being that there's going to be a crossover with G.I. Joe and Transformers. And when I say a crossover, they've said this as well in the past quite a lot and quite significantly, that it will be a Transformers film, and there will obviously be G.I. Joe elements sprinkled in. So it's not going to be a case of a Transformers versus G.I. Joe movie. It's going to be Transformers solely, and then G.I. Joe is going to be brought in slow, like, you know, trickled in, basically. And I don't think it'll be another end scene. I think they'll be in the film, and we'll see characters and we'll see interaction and stuff like that. But I don't think it will be all the time for all of the film, all the way through, etc., etc. It'll be like bits and pieces here and there. You know, sort of like how Sector 7 were introduced. You know, it's like they were, you know, it's only like probably about halfway through, I think, one of the films, and then they're in it all the time after that. So yeah, you know, it's teased, and Sector 7's teased a little bit here and there, and then all of a sudden it's like in your face. I'm missing loads of comments, sorry. The Real Zim says, personally, I'd rather they do more animated movies or series like the Sumbo series. Live action G.I. Joe movies aren't nostalgic for me because that isn't what I grew up with. Good point. I think if they do live action, I think the TV or the kind of streaming series is probably a better option. I do think they should do an animated series. I think an animated series would be great, and they could really go to town with it. I'm surprised they developed a Micronauts animation and didn't even try a G.I. Joe one. I'm more surprised that they actually developed a full run of episodes for Micronauts than they. Do you know what I mean? I'm more surprised they did that over a G.I. Joe one. Bumblebee was good. Almost walked out of Rise of the Beasts. Awful, says Paul. Oh, you didn't? Okay, fair enough. Again, like I definitely prefer Bumblebee 100%, and I think the reason I was more excited or more forgiving on Rise of the Beast was because of the G.I. Joe bit at the end that I knew was coming. Now I want Donald Glover to play Stalker and Arbed from Community to play Snake Eyes. Hang on. Arbed did play Spirit, or what was it, Fourth Wall, in the Community episode. Who was Donald Glover in that? I've completely forgotten who Donald Glover was. Oh, he wasn't in it, was he, at that point? Yeah, he wasn't in that episode because he'd left by then. So it was 3 Kids was Stalker, wasn't it? Buzzkill was like Pathfinder mixed with like I don't know what. I don't know what she was supposed to be in terms of character. And then Alison Brie was the shipwreck. Short what was it? That ship something Shore Ship. That was it. Yeah, anyway, I was thinking Shore Leave, but then Shore Leave was Venture Brothers. I love how many shipwreck kind of parodies there have been in modern media. Bay was much better suited for G.I. Joe than Transformers. Not sure he would have made good G.I. Joe, but it definitely plays more to his sensibilities. I kind of agree with that, Ryan, because he was always that kind of like heavy with the military vibe, wasn't he? Like he'd always have like the newest military stuff in his all of his kind of films and things like that. There's yeah, and there was like always like a thing where he would actually get the real military in to do that stuff too. Still think the security guard at the end was Mutt, says Jeffrey. That's not a bad shout, just because he's got a tash. Did he have? I think he did have a tash. That's a good shout though. I mean, he was effectively security. He was that little room he was in was the checkpoint Alpha. And yeah, and Junkyard was just hanging out in there too. But you didn't see Junkyard. But yeah, definitely that would have been cool if it is Mutt, great, bring it on. Back in the 80s, Spielberg has talked about doing a Joe live action film. Oh, what could have been? Oh my god, I didn't know that, Paul. I think I've missed that. Actually, I need to find out where he's talked about that because that would be an interesting conversation. With every mission using a different team, Hasbro should focus on a special mission series, 4 or 5 regulars and a different guest star or 2 for each episode. That would be great. That would be great. I would even say, just new characters every episode. That would be shaking it up, doing something different. Not like, maybe have a couple of characters that return, but you could really shake the formula up a little bit. But yeah, they're always gonna. You're right. They're always gonna have like your core. There'd always be like a core 3 or 4, minimum 3, I think, for that. Back in the 80s, Spielberg had talked about doing a live action Joe. Oh, so I already read that. How did I admit? If you did, anyway. Independence Day vibes, opening the hangar to see the ship. Yes, Barking Fridge. Actually, you're right. It is Independence Day, isn't it? As well, like that. Same kind of thing as well. The ship's in like a stark white warehouse sort of thing, isn't it? Yeah. Bumblebee was the only Transformers story that you could edit out the Transformers and it's the same movie, and a few robot scenes just feel like uninspired nostalgia bait. Oh, you don't like that one, Robert H? I really loved that movie. I thought it was much better. Also felt a lot like the pit reveal in Rise of Cobra. Yes, definitely. That was pretty bad though, wasn't it? Going down the lift. I mean, it's a cool concept, but the scale of that building is ridiculous. How is there an underwater training aquarium? Like, I mean, just think of the logistics of putting an underwater training aquarium the size of, like, I don't know, like the size that it was with the vehicles in it hossing around, and there not be one catastrophic failure opportunities. The fact that it was above a bunch of levels as well and not the lowest level is the biggest ridiculous aspect of that thing. Because if that has a catastrophic failure, then everyone below drowns. Basically, it's just that. Yeah, I mean, the pit's great as an idea, but having like a middle bit being like underwater, ridiculous. If I was Hasbro and Paramount and our producer said, I don't know what we are doing, but he'd be gone. This is what I'm saying. Like, I feel like there just needs to be somebody else at the helm in order to progress and develop something better. Otherwise, we're just going to get the same thing over and over again. And I'm still going to be excited and talk about it and report on it, and then, you know, this, that, and the other, and speculate. And then when it's out, oh, tight ship. Thank you, Ryan. Yeah, not yeah. I was getting confused with Shore Leave, but yeah, tight ship is the name of Alison Brie's character in that Community episode. But anyway, yeah. So I feel like we're going to be in this constant cycle until something changes, basically. The next Transformers movie can add the faux Joe characters from the episode Lights, Camera, Cobra. Yeah. I just want a Transformers movie set on all Cybertron. Humans ruin the movies. Honestly, Derek, I have that feeling sometimes with it. Like, I'd love that whole intro on that Bumblebee movie was the best Transformers movie ever. Do you know that like Cybertron battle was great. And then, like, you know, the sound effects and the music, and it was just great. It was really cool. And the action. And, you know, if you're going to do a movie that is mostly CGI, then yeah, Transformers is the perfect movie to do that with. Just, do we really need and that thing of like, yeah, but you know, humans have to like, or we have to like resonate with the characters. We've been watching non-human characters in full in cartoons and movies and stuff our entire lives. It's not necessary all the time. You know, we can get away with watching the Transformers do some stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like, we can do it. We give us the opportunity. It really, like, and it's not even that humans in general ruin it. It's that the choices of characters have ruined it for me. It's like these people who are like, you know, like normal people, but you know, it's just so, I don't know, over the top, too much. It's like, just don't bother. Do you know what I mean? Like, most of them are going to get squished anyway. So let's just do. Yeah, it's the relatable thing, but it's not true because you got people voicing the characters. Like I said, we've been watching like animated series where there are no humans anywhere to, you know, anywhere to see. And again, like, I think they just need to do it. They just need to do it, see how it works, and go from there. And I'll tell you what, I don't relate to the Mark Wahlberg character in Transformers in any way, shape, or form. I don't relate to any of the characters in them. Like I said, the most I could relate to was Haley Steinfeld. I forget her surname because it's so similar to Seinfeld. But Haley, I could 100% relate to her character in that movie. I thought she was great. But like, Mark Wahlberg's character, just annoying. You know, Shia LaBeouf's character, just a little bit, chill out, mate. Calm down a bit. You know, I'm not relating to any of those characters at all. And I think that's sometimes where the problems lie. I like the military characters are quite good. Tyrese was over the top, but it was just the one character. It was like Tyrese was kind of like his Fast and Furious character, basically. But you had, you know, the rest of the team that kind of like leveled that out a little bit, you know, different kind of character, you know, personalities. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, let's try the Transformers on their own. Let's just try it. Let's see what happens. I think it'd be really cool. And again, just based off that intro to Bumblebee, damn, give me that at least half the movie in that, not just like a few minutes, please. Yeah, that's another good point. Of course, it isn't true. Hollywood executives tend to be really stupid. There are some great articles out there where writers and directors mention the dumbest notes or demands from studio execs, big time, Diana. I've seen so many of them, and I look at some of those things sometimes, and I go, "You're really." It's a large scale version of when you're at work and someone who isn't like creative in any way, shape, or form is like requesting something from you, and they're like, this is what I want, and they don't really know how to kind of put it, if you know what I mean. And it kind of, it's like they can't explain what they want, and you kind of do it the exact specifications they want, and they're like, no, this is bad. And it's like, this is what you've literally asked for, and there you go, that's what you wanted. And it's like, no, I wanted something like this. And it's like, that is something like that. And then if you let that creative person do what they actually think would work in that situation based on their experience and skill sets, then you get something that is actually probably more likely wanted. But it's just a larger scale version of that, isn't it? It's working to brief, and that brief is always a little bit all over the place and vague and terrible. Paul, I know, every single day of my work life you say, yeah, exactly. Put a giant metal spider in it, says Barking Fridge. Amazing. I just love a movie from the Transformers point of view where the humans are the aliens they encounter, not the main protagonists. Yeah, like G.I. Joe coming to Cybertron as Star Brigade. Hollywood execs are the pinnacle of stupid people believing everyone is dumber than they are. Oh, God, yeah. That's a good point, Scott. This story already exists, the UK Zoids. Absolutely, RKW. That's a cracking... I love the UK Zoids comics, man. They're so good. And in fact, I told a story in the week about when I had pneumonia as a child, and my mom would bring me like comics and stuff. And I think some of the comics were the ones that were like Zoids and Spider-Man, because I think they were like around about the same time. But anyway, yeah, that just reminded me of that. Anyway, that is movie news this week. Let's get stuck in now to what we're here for, and that is all our classified updates, which, let's face it, there's a lot of them. There's a lot. Yeah, so we had a lot of classified related news this week, starting with some pre-production images courtesy of Nathan Camazel of Doc's head sculpt, removable shades, helmet, flare pistol, and taser in various different test shot plastic colors, and a number of Norgahide's parts added to a Zartan body to give us an idea of what we can expect to see very soon with the next figure and pet set. Although it probably would have made more sense to put him on a roadblock body, seeing as that's what it looks like he's on. In addition to that, we had brand new listings to reveal for what is likely 2025 product, and images leaked of a new batch of Mad Marauders repaints, including the Sarge and a 2-pack featuring Lowlight and Spirit, with a new animal companion, Nyol, which is Navajo for of the wind. Nyol. I actually looked at how to pronounce that the other day, and it was a lot more complicated than that, and so I've already forgotten how to pronounce it properly. But anyway, very lots of classified news this week. Pastor Pierogi said, speaking to creativity, when you interview the Hasbro team, could you ask how they deal with staying fresh cheese bags and create when they just might not feel it that day, especially for such a big brand? I will. That's a good question. I will definitely pose that question. I like that. Suppose Mad Marauders Mutton Junkyard will be a deluxe set again, or there'll be a figure and pet set. So I'd imagine we'd probably get Mutton Junkyard as the Marauders in Marauders colors. What is the animal though, says Daniel Morgan? We believe it is a golden eagle. I think it's a golden eagle. Are they going to do Celebrity Joes or Cobras other than the Sarge? I don't think they might do. I'll ask them. I'll see what they say. All the questions are coming in for Hasbro. I'm not speaking to them anytime soon. It's going to be like after the 29th, so we've got some time. Has there been any discussion on the Joe RPG? I haven't done that today, no, Scott. Let's look at this work. These updates. So first off, we've got Doc pre-production heads, shades, and helmets here on show in different flavors. Now it looks very likely that the strap, the kind of the chin strap will be glued into the interior of the helmet there. It's just showing you sort of that they come in two parts a lot of the time, Kitty said, and then they're usually glued together for the final piece. And it'll probably work in the same way that Tripwire's helmet does. So don't worry too much about trying to fit it onto the old head. The Tripwire one works perfectly. So I imagine this one will work in a very similar way to that. And of course, removable shades, which is really awesome. And they're sitting interestingly on the head there. But again, these are pre-production pieces. I'm sure they'll be very there'll be things ironed out and worked out, and hopefully we'll have a decent pair of shades on Doc's head. Doc's stretcher has got to fit the Dragonfly skids. I imagine it does. I don't think they would have missed something as blatantly obvious as that. But you never know. You never know. Because I mean, looking at that's the thing. Looking at the Dragonfly in online and everything for reference and research and stuff, there isn't much in the way of visual representation of that stretcher working with the Dragonfly. It's not something that you see, and it's not something that you there's not something that comes up a lot in search things online. So it's possible that they haven't noticed that, but it's also possible that people working there did know that, and that's what we'll get. Hoping the shades are translucent, says Scott. They could be. I don't know if they will be, because his shades were kind of reflective for the most part. So they'll probably just paint them or maybe have them like silver or something. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll look at the render again and see. Oh, they're green, aren't they? Green shades. So you want them to be kind of green translucent. So yeah, they'll probably be just thick green color, I'd imagine. But we'll see. And then, of course, we have the taser and the flare gun there with the other helmet in that kind of my flesh tone. Even though the light is kind of making me look a little white at the moment, a little whiter. It's about that. It's about that color. It's a bit pink. It's a bit more pinky than my skin. Anyway, they're your Doc pieces. Lovely stuff. We also got. Well, here we go. This is the render. So we know obviously that the stretcher is going to be foldable, and it's going to work as a backpack. So that's awesome. On the Doc render, you can see his eyes through the lenses, so maybe transparent. That's true. So I should have zoomed in on that. So maybe they are going to be transparent. That's great though. Thanks, Paul. There's no way I can see that from this distance though. Not a chance. So it's possible that the stretcher fits on the Dragonfly skids. And again, I would be surprised if it didn't. And I think that would be one of those things where, they'll reveal it as maybe as an update when they show Doc. They'll be like, oh, and guess what? Yeah, I'll zoom in on it, but I can't see right now. Anyway, that's Doc, his parts, and some of his parts anyway. It's his head, shades, helmet, taser, and flare gun. We obviously haven't seen the other kind of secondary elements. We haven't seen the stretcher. We haven't seen any of that yet. Hoping to very soon. That would be great. 29th, I think. I think on the 29th, we'll probably see Doc. We'll probably see Jinx, Night Creeper, and Torch. That's my prediction. We'll see those four. I think we'll see the SMS, and I think we'll see Norgahide. And then they'll save Tripwire and Roadblock for Target's March Geek Out, I think. The stretcher is a backpack. RKW, yeah, it plugs into his back as well. Is Doc going to be a deluxe figure? No, he's not a deluxe figure. He's a single. He's in the wave of 4. Doc, Jinx, Torch, and Night Creeper. They're in a wave of 4 figures. So we'll probably see those on the 29th is what I'm expecting. Now, we also got this image on Weibo. I think again from was it from Nathan? Who I think it was found by Nathan on the Weibo site, and it has the pre-production head, hat, vest, necklace, wrist secondaries, machete, belt, and the other knife and sheath parts on Xandar's body. Xandar's body? Zartan's body. So basically that's what we've got here. That's the full build layout we've got going on. Now it's actually going to be roadblock, I believe they're using. So I think it won't look exactly like this, but it gives us an idea of what to expect. And they are two different pieces. They're kind of like different pieces. I think the belt's just lower, Rachel, than the other one. I think it just sits lower, and the vests are probably about the same size. Because they're both coming. If you look at both of them, they're both kind of hitting just as the notch in the what's it called, the chest crunch or the ab crunch, sorry, starts on the side of the body. They're both hitting that line pretty consistently. So I think they're the same size. And of course, what is interesting is the necklace is separate to the vest. And I kind of like expected them to do like the vest secondary and the necklace as all kind of one piece that kind of like keeps it on the body for you'd have to like bust it a little bit to get it off, or at least like remove the head and the arms to get it off. But I believe that the two vests are the same. They're just different colors. That's all that's different about them. They're the same sculpt, just different colors. And obviously one color is bringing out the what do you call it? It's bringing out the detail of the sculpt more. Like the yellow is bringing out the detail more than the white, because the white's kind of like, with the lighting is kind of like flattening it out a little bit. So that's what you're seeing there. It looks like there are two different hat colors as well. The head looks the same, so it's like one head, and then all the other pieces seem to be the same as well. The wrist secondaries, the machete with the loops that keeps it on his wrist is pretty cool as well, and the belt and the actually what is interesting here is he's got the knife and the holster, the knife and the sheath on his thigh when it should be on around his ankle. Because if we look at this, you can see the sheath is there down on his right ankle, in like an homage to how his original vintage figure had the knife on the shin of his left leg. So I think they were just, because it's Roadblock's legs they're using, and because so much is going on the left leg, they probably thought, well, let's balance it out by putting the sheath on the other side, because you've got that kind of extra knee pad on the Roadblock kind of figure on that left leg. So that's probably why I think they've probably done that. They kind of like balance it out visually. So there is another element of necklace as well. There's obviously the dog tags that he wears too, and I wonder if that's just another piece that'll be separate, which again is interesting. I thought they'd have just gone with the dog tags, the necklace, and the vest as one whole piece. So to have multiple pieces, I quite like that. I'm quite into that. Very wolf trooper looking weapon. Oh, big time. It's got that well, what's really cool about it, it's a really gnarly machete in the first place. It's like it almost looks broken, but it's all like two blades have been fused together almost, but like very hastily, not like professionally. And that's true, it's not final product. They could relocate the sheath. Well, that's what I'm saying, like with the sheath, I'm just saying it's interesting that the person who has put this together has put it there. I do think the sheath is meant for the lower leg, but we're talking about a Zartan body instead of a Roadblock one. So maybe they put it up there because it didn't look right, hanging down all the way on the lower leg. But this is what I'm saying is, it's interesting that the person that built this particular, to take pictures of, put that sheath up there on the thigh when it's supposed to be down by the on the ankle, on the shin. What the hell do you call it? Let's just say the lower leg. Yeah. And I'm also aware that because it's not final product, we might have we might have a situation where the necklace and the vest, or the necklace and the dog tags are actually one piece. So there could be changes still. These are test shots after all. And I do love the fact that we're seeing the wrist gauntlets as well. And we of course we've got a arm, kind of like a bicep secondary that we've still got to see, the dog tags, and the rest of the weapons we know. So this is really just all about the new stuff, isn't it? The new kind of elements, and obviously the animals. Can't wait to see the animals. Calf. Thank you, Hydrus. Why couldn't I think of that word? What is wrong with me? So yeah, that is what you're looking at there. Also, the belt on the left is the same as the one on the right, but it's kind of slipped a little bit, and has got the grenades a little bit closer to the front. But obviously, it's just slipped round. But you can see how it's supposed to be on the other image. In any case, very excited to see Norgahide finished and painted, and with the right body, and with his pork belly and yobbo creatures. And that is true, actually, Scott. Yes, Tunnel Rat has a mess of neck gear that's all over the place, and it's all separated. Yeah, he's got like the secondary holster. He's got the scarf. He's got the bag. He's got all sorts of stuff going on, hasn't he? Why is it the one I always want to look at is the one in the worst position to find? Why every time? But yeah, you're right on that one. Looks like he stood on a Death Star droid. It does look like that RKW. It kind of looks like that Terrorhawks. Is it Terrorhawks? Do you guys remember that show? It was like I'm not sure if it made it to the US. I think it was in the US, but it had that weird, like, horrible nightmare fuel, like old woman kind of witch looking person. It was all like puppetry and kind of like, that kind of vibe. It was so dark, that show. Anyway, Norgahide, there you go, standing on a Death Star droid. A Death Star droid, done. Right, and then there, and of course we've looked at his render as well, just to kind of match those pieces up. So we're still waiting on to see the dog tags, the bicep strap, and the animals, of course. Brilliant stuff. What's next? Leaked listings. Okay, this was fun. So obviously we had a lot. Well, I had planned to drop this information on the Monday, and then the Marauders things got leaked, and it was like, well, I guess I can update the list a little bit here. It just shows that the classified line has killed the Black Series line. It kind of feels that way sometimes, doesn't it, Scott? My goodness. Anyway, this is the list like prior to updating it. Now, obviously, with the like I said, with the leak of Marauders Sarge, we could reveal that Buttercup is in actual fact Mad Marauder Sarge. So G.I. Joe CS TNS Buttercup F9235, for those keeping score on their spreadsheets, is the Mad Marauders Sergeant Slaughter. Now, we also, like I said, got some brand new listings that are probably for 2025. More information will come out as we go. We're just sticking them at the end here and keeping it on the 24 leak listings graphic for now, but it's ever so very likely that they're 2025 because there are theme changes, there are all sorts of different things. But those reveals gave us some different designations, as you can see in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, and some sort of new themes, basically. So that does kind of, and of course they're G numbers now. And I know we've got a few G numbers in 2024 with Nemesis Immortal and Highway Pet and Whip Snakes 2-pack. So we do have some of those G numbers creeping in already, but it makes sense that we're going into a new year, basically. How has Whip Snake stayed hidden for so long? I don't know. There are so many that I don't know how they stay under the radar for so long. I don't get it. And then some are like immediately out there. I don't get it. The machete in the second picture looks bent, says Rachel. Oh yeah, it did look a little curved, yeah. But again, it's test shot, and it's I doubt that if, well, I'd like to say they would have fixed those issues by now, but you know, it is what it is at the end of the day. Pebbles, probably Jinx and George for Doc. Well, yeah, figure 6-pack, but the thing is, we have the genders don't match the code names a lot of the time. Dreadnought Torch is Jane, for goodness sake. So like, I can't honestly say one is one and the other is the other. Yeah, it could very well be that, but we don't know at all. But anyway, coming back to the new listings, we just know that they are Doc and Jinx. We just don't know which one's which. So BB is the new designation for this particular couple of figures. BB Daria Deluxe and a BB Salvador. Now, we can't really find a thematical connection between Salvador and Daria. Daria was in Beavis and Butthead and was a spin-off of Beavis and Butthead. So that's probably what the BB stands for, but we don't know what the BB relates to. So, for example, if you're struggling to understand what I'm getting at, if you go back last year or this year, MM means mystery machine because it's Scrappy, Scooby, Shaggy, etc., right? So, but it means something. It relates to something. It doesn't. Yes, it means that it's the mystery machine, but it also means that it, like, MM effectively means like some sort of vehicle or some sort of, like standalone significant piece. Does that make sense? And then HB means Hanna-Barbera, we're guessing, because it's related to all Hanna-Barbera characters, right? But that also means something, and HB relates to in fact all cases we've seen so far, exclusives: Target, Walmart, Pulse, not necessarily Amazon, because I don't think Amazon have a direct exclusive that we are aware of at the moment. They just seem to do the Fanmazon thing now, which is Fan Channel and Amazon. So I don't think Amazon just has a standalone exclusive as such. So yeah, so even though they mean something for the theme, they also mean something in reality as well, even though it's not clear. So BB is probably going to mean something significant, I would imagine. So a Daria Deluxe, we don't know what it is. But we know that it's a deluxe figure, and then it's probably going to have a a significant like addition to that particular thing. It doesn't mean vehicle, because we get different code names for that. We get VH designations for vehicles. So it's definitely a deluxe. It comes with something significant, and BB is going to start meaning that in the future. So that's what BB Salvador means, but because it's not a deluxe, it means something probably smaller but more significant. But we don't, again, not a clue. It's all kind of guesswork at the moment until we start seeing the pattern come out. We need an interview with the person picking these codes. Yes, we blooming well do. Now, the next group of codes are retro ones, and it's retro AN, which could mean retro, well, it could mean a lot of things. Initially, I thought animation. Then someone said anniversary, but it seemed like it's already an anniversary. Retro is already talking about stuff that's happened in the past. And then you look at the actual designation, and it's Pinky, Brain, and Elmira. So Animaniacs is effectively what that designation is all about. So the AN Pinky, AN Brain, AN Elmira means that it's an Animaniacs theme. And maybe it just is the new designation for retro figures, and that's all that is. And that makes sense and doesn't necessarily need a lot more thinking going into it. So I just assume that AN Pinky, AN Brain, and AN Elmira are the thematic code words for retro figures, basically. Now, the next one is a head scratcher. Legacy RR Tommy. Now, my first thought is all about the legacy aspect. The RR Tommy is very likely Rugrats and Tommy from the Rugrats, right? So this is going to be a new theme, which means a new subline, does it not? Based on previous. And legacy, that has all sorts of connotations. Now, could it be as simple or as straightforward as Tommy being Storm Shadow, right? And could the legacy mean, and this is all guesswork, this is all speculative, and a lot of the time it doesn't mean this on the nose like it's about to sound, but could legacy mean that era of classified that never really happened? So the first wave of like designs, the higher toys design mandate, basically, where you're looking at Yakuza Storm Shadow, you're looking at Purple Hair Baroness, you're looking at who else are we looking at? Oh, different decos in like, you know, Beachhead and the Cobra Trooper being completely different, that sort of thing. Do you think they might be doing something like that? Is that like a thing? You know, and is that like a way of getting that Storm Shadow out with the kind of Yakuza tattoo, the kind of sleeve tattoo, and the silver face mask and all that kind of stuff? You know, and like again, in that kind of legacy space, you could be talking about characters that we didn't see, you know, like out of Operation Blackout, like Sci-Fi, who Rachel has mentioned here, and Death Valley Machine has mentioned. RKW says legacy would be 12-inch. Well, if you're going, yeah, I guess if you think about it in like a stronger than retro vibe, yeah, I guess it could be a 12-inch call out as well. I'm personally gonna I'm gonna sit at the moment. My brain is locked in, and you know, there's not much you can do about this. You come up with a theory, and sometimes it sticks with you, and sometimes it disappears when someone else mentions something. I feel quite strongly that it might be some sort of legacy geared towards that period of classified that never really saw the light of day. So I'm going to go with that. You know, concept art, kind of like the Ralph McQuarrie of classified here. But yeah, it could be things like that. I'd be, you know, I'd be quite into something. I think that sounds quite interesting, and it doesn't have to be like a big line. It could be like the odd figure here and there, and considering we've only got one listing of it where we've got multiples of others, you kind of think, oh, maybe it'll be like one legacy figure every now and again they'll do with different packaging and different loadout and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we'll see, I guess. Rugrats young. Rugrats equals young equals Vietnam, Tommy. Yeah, again, this is the thing. I would love to think that there are these kind of like hidden kind of like codes in there, but most of the time it is not relatable to anything that we know. You know, like Tommy being Storm Shadow's name is almost certainly going to not be Storm Shadow because of that. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what that's all about. Now, the reason, also I should add, the reason the retro figures have question marks and no numbers is because the listings we have, those 3 retro figures all have the same number, which is weird. So I'm going to confirm eventually what their individual numbers are and then put them on there. So I didn't want to put the actual number that we have for it because it's the same one for each one, and that doesn't make any sense. So eventually, hopefully, we'll have that information ironed out a little bit, and I'll add it to the list. And hopefully, we'll be able to update some more of this very soon. I'm hoping for some name only reveals on the 29th. Again, I'm saying it's going to happen because it just seems like very likely. But no official word yet on the 29th. So let's move on quickly. So yeah, sorry, before I move on. So I'm hoping for some name only reveals. If we get some name only reveals for the 29th and they correspond to some of the ones we haven't got on here, they're going on there. All right. If we get a render reveal without getting a name only reveal first, and they represent one of the names on here, I'll update immediately. Okay. So we'll get to that as soon as we can. Now, yes, this was probably the most exciting reveal, I guess, of the what you call it. Robert H says Legacy could just be reprints like what Star Wars does. Hopefully not repaints or repaints, right? It could be. But I don't think there's a I don't necessarily think there's a market for that. I think there's a market for things we haven't got yet, is what I think. And I think it would be throwing away a lot of possibilities if they were to allocate budget to what is effectively something that I don't think many people would really care about. People don't buy repaints of like Tiger Force figures because they're repaints. I don't think, doing an ever so slight different repaint version just to like bring another figure out that, I don't think it's worth it. Not enough instances, I think, of people missing out on certain figures. Anyway, let's talk Mad Marauders. Now, I think this was definitely the most exciting reveal of the week. It certainly was for me, and it allowed us to kind of unlock one of those listings for people as well, which is great. And that is the Mad Marauders Sergeant Slaughter. Now, a couple of things to mention here. We could be looking at certainly like a kind of pre-production sample, not yet final packaging, etc., etc. But it's also likely we're seeing effectively what the packaging exactly is going to look like. So you could be seeing both here. Sorry, not both. That's impossible. You could be seeing either. Penny Rooster, Elmira joined the Animaniacs towards the end. Or Elmira joined Pinky and the Brain later in the seasons. Check your facts before you come flying in here with your Tiny Toons garbage. I'm just kidding. But yeah, that was pointed out a number of times in the week, and also pointed out that Elmira did, in fact, join the Pinky and the Brain. So that's where the connection is, okay? So now we're talking Mad Marauders. And the Sarge, again, like, this is really cool. I'm really glad we're getting another Sarge. And I'm really glad not only are they giving us another Sarge, but he's getting a few other bits and pieces here as well, which, again, is like, I think it's kind of like, in response to the way that deluxe figures are priced. That first Sarge, there was a deluxe price on it because of the fact that it was the Sarge. It had to be more expensive because of the licensing and so on and so forth. I feel like we're in a position now where they can throw in a few more items and maybe keep the same price point. I could see this still being $34.99. I don't know if it is exactly. I'll have to check if I've got information on that. But I would imagine they'll try and keep it to that deluxe price point. And the fact that they've thrown in the weights and the gloves, epic. Just what a great addition. Something I honestly never would have thought of doing. You guys might have done, and that's totally cool. But from my perspective, and I think the reason I like it so much is because it never dawned on me to include those items with the Sarge. So I'm really I don't know, I'm just really happy he's getting some cool stuff, including the blue repaints of the gloves. And I wonder if you can't really see or tell. It's probably unlikely they do, but you never know. I don't know. I'm not sure if it's like the plastic behind it or it's just the shading, but they could have a Marauders logo on the gloves. It could be there. But yeah, that's something we'll have to see in the future, because the gloves are kind of like on the side. So you're seeing them like that. You're seeing like the thumbs from above. Thumbs from above. That isn't a reference to anything. But yeah, I love the fact that we've got the weights in there as well. Just really cool. You see, this is that's another thing that I wasn't aware of, Travis. Gridiron did the Sarge weight set, so they're clearly watching third party closely, and that's a good thing. Yeah, totally. I wasn't aware of that. I didn't know Sarge had a specific weight set for Gridiron. Actually, I thought the weight set was just a random weight set. Like, I thought it was like a just for everybody, not just the Sarge, if you know what I mean. Gonna do the Ali Frazier shot with Sarge and Big Boa. Scott, who's going to be Ali in that shot, by the way? Is Sarge going to be Ali with Big Boa on the ground, or are you going to do it the other way around? It depends, doesn't it? Like what faction you rep. Setting up a battle in the gym against Big Boa, Swole Wars, indeed. I came up with an idea. not long ago for a name of a reality show called Swole Mates. And it was going to be like a dating show, but for just people that work out. And then I think that name was actually used on some random like animation, like a Japanese like manga sort of animation. Anyway, Swolmates. I couldn't stop thinking. I thought it was the funniest thing I'd ever come up with in my life, but obviously not. Sarge Ali, obviously. There you go, Scott. Cool, of course. I had. Do you guys remember in Arise Serpentor Arise when the Sarge is thrown in the brink and the brig, not the brink, he's thrown in the brig and they lock the door. It's like a proper, like, electronic job. And he gets up, kind of like shakes off being like, knocked out. And then he undoes the screw. He undoes the screws of the panel, that's the electronic panel. Which, why would that be on the interior, by the way? He undoes the screws with his fingernail. I had to do that the other day at work with one of my with my fingernail because I couldn't find a screwdriver anywhere. So I just I couldn't be bothered. I'll just do it, and I did it. I did a Sarge, and my nail was strong enough, and it was. I wish I should have filmed it because it was well hard. It was. The screw was well in there. I'm like, there's no way this is going to work. And it went, and it went, and it eventually went. It was a bit painful. I'm not going to lie. And it worked. So yeah, I did a Sarge, and I wanted to post about it, but I thought there's no way in hell I could make this sound right, so I didn't bother. But anyway, yeah, Sarge, you should come with a finger with a little fingernail on it that he does to unscrew panels. But yeah, love the fact he's obviously got his hat, he's obviously got his shades and his whistle. He's got that AK still. He's got the spare hands and he's got the baton. You can see all of that in the image, and he's got his minifigure, which looks to also be Marauders paint decoed as well, which is great. Chris with that Sarge strength, only in the finger though, Kitty said. But then the additional items of the weights and the gloves, and I think that's great. I think that's a good loadout. He might even have more things that we just can't see, but it's unlikely because they have to kind of have everything on show now. At least if you kind of look on the sides of the, through the angles of the package, you can see everything. But yeah, really excited that we're getting another Sarge, and it's a Mad Marauders deco. And the deco is interesting, isn't it? They've gone very vintage inspired with it on the Sarge, because I mean, what else? You can't really do much else with the brakes that you've got on that particular figure. But we also get Low Light and Spirit Iron Knife with Njol. Now the beautiful part, I'm gonna find out how to pronounce it properly because I need to get it in my head. And I'll play it out loud so everyone can hear the proper pronunciation. Njol pronunciation. There we go. Not in English. This is great. What's the word? I did have it on here. So where's it gone? They haven't taken it down, have they? If I put Navajo, I think that helps. I think I just put it in there. I think I just put it in. What's it called? I typed it in. I didn't put it in YouTube, is what I'm getting at. Njol Navajo name. I want to pronounce it though. Yeah, here it is. You ready, guys? This is the correct pronunciation of this name.
Njol.
Njol. Okay, that's Njol. Like they're two separate words. N-I-H Yol. Njol. Okay, so Njol is the name of this bird, which I think we've sort of worked out is a golden eagle. I believe I've just got to check that as well quickly because I can't remember if which one we fell on. Oh, golden eagle. Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah, so I think we're basically thinking it's a golden eagle. And that is what we're doing. So there we go. There will be more information about this particular character as well. I'm assuming. Oh, this is the thing. Like, we'll probably find out soon. But do you think this is a question actually, because obviously we've just talked about our preview of what we think is going to happen on the 29th. Do we think these are going to be included? I think as a possibility, honestly, but do you think they'll maybe, we're seeing them a bit early? Because that's the thing, like, is it, sometimes we see these leaks and it's close to one of these events, and sometimes we see these leaks and it's so early in the process that we don't get it for months. So it's hard to gauge, isn't it, basically? So I wonder if, yeah, I do wonder about that. I don't really know is the other thing. A lot of people calling this a custom. Well, that's mental, isn't it? When it's clearly a Joe fan stream in less than 2 weeks. I mean, how many times do we have to go through this dance? We've seen, like, this is the thing that happens. We see, like, Wolf Spider happened the same with Wolf Spider, happened the same with Wolf Spider, had the same thing happened with so many. The Bat and the Alley Viper. Do you remember when those pre-production parts leaked for the Bat and the Alley Viper, and people saying no, it's bull. It's like they're just, it's not, you know, got anything to do with it. Yada yada yada. Turned out, yeah, that's exactly what they were. But this is, we go through this dance every time. When you have, well, we knew that Low Light and Spirit as a 2-pack were coming, so for us, it's a no-brainer. This is legitimate. We knew that the Sarge was coming, Mad Marauders. So it's weird that those two exact sets appear after knowing they're on the line plan. Like, it's not a custom. Now, the other, I mean, the argument for it being a custom is that they could have, or they could know that those items are coming, and they've mocked up customs, including, may I add, brand new interior plastic trays that fit the characters, weapons, and accessories exactly correctly. That's one hell of a custom. I haven't seen customs that good yet. I haven't. I've seen customs, like the actual figures look phenomenal. I've never seen packaging done to, I think the best level of packaging I've ever seen done were those Transformers crossover sort of things by, it's a Scot, and I can't remember his full name. I think it's Scott somebody. I can't remember the name. Someone let me know in the comments. But those are great. Like, there's a gem crossover with the Transformers they did, like an Optimus Prime gem crossover, and like G1, and the boxes look perfect. But that's the thing, it's like really hard to kind of get that level of quality, and these might not even be the final production ones either, like the boxes. But I'm going out on a limb and saying, yeah, we're getting these, and same with the Sarge. It's happening, but I don't know if we get them on the 29th is the question. They'll probably, I think these are probably for a bit later on, but you never know. Using the Hiss Tank list of dates, Slaughter is due out in September. Yeah, so probably more likely Yojo June sort of scenario then, innit? Which is, again, that lines up quite nicely. Come for the Joe news, stay for Chris fighting with the internet. Exactly, it's difficult, isn't it? Like, always locked in a battle. It looks like a raven, but yeah, I don't think it is. How's it hanging? Says Andrew. Hello, how you do? Usual. And cheese bags. I like it. Paddy would pronounce it Neil. Yes, he would. I'm glad we got a new bird to avoid the jokes about dying animals like Max. Exactly, Pass. Yeah, that's always what that's my, yeah, constant thing. Wolf Spider was leaked months before he was announced. He really was. Major Blood was leaked before we saw him. Was he RKW? I think you're right. Yeah. I had a golden eagle that lived behind our house. Never seen one with grey beak and legs. You've never seen one with legs or with grey legs? Because maybe it got in a bit of a fight there. And custom package printed professionally only to show them off with fake leaked photos from a 2005 Motorola Razr phone. Yeah, if that is the case, like, what's the point? Yeah, not customs. People would be proud of their work and will want credit. We've seen fake custom renders, not painted figures. Yeah, I feel like this might be a Yojo June kind of lineup thing, definitely. Morning, says Jeremy. We can start over from the beginning now. Okay, let's go to comics news. Just kidding. I'm waiting for a curveball from Hasbro with a retro stalker that comes with a deer. That would be a hell of a blimmin' curveball. Brian says, "Hey guys, I'm finally caught up. Great stuff, Chris, and good morning to you all. Awesome. Right, so good morning to you as well. Yeah, so with low light and spirit, like we talked about Niol, which is how I'm pronouncing it from now on. And also that the accessories are interesting here because we're getting like a mixture of different stuff. We're getting like Outback's backpack. We're getting some like different things that don't necessarily come with the original versions of these figures, which I think is great. Like you got the shovel there as well, which goes with Outback's backpack too. You know, you've got I think you've got, was it Zartan's sniper rifles in use somewhere, I think with low light. There's just some interesting kind of choices that they've thrown in here, and I really like the fact they're mixing it up. The decos look nice as well. Spirit looks good. Low light looks really good, and I'm gonna have to get these because the I'm gonna have to, yeah, because I feel like, you know, that low light that came out in the UK is like spot on with this. I would say, Jeffrey, then they might not be grey legs. They kind of might actually be yellow. The lighting is not great, and it looks like there's a hint of yellow in those legs, honestly, from me looking at it here. So I think they might be yellow, genuinely. Say Outback's backpack 5 times fast. Outback's backpack, Outback's backpack, Outback. No, I can't. I run out of enunciation. A thought from Flaffle is that legacy could mean international figures from G.I. Joe history, like Glenda, perhaps. Well, I guess we'll see, won't we, at the end of the day, what it might be. But again, it could be anything, and we won't know until we see a character attached to it, or we see some sort of pattern emerge. Right then, so that is Low Light, Spirit, and the Sarge Mad Marauders leaks. Really excited for these because I like sub teams, and so does Jeremy. Apparently, definitely getting these as Marauders is my second favorite sub team behind Night Force. You like all the dark colors? I like it. But yeah, so like, you know, Tiger Force is I love the fact we get these little sub team collections. Night Force as well, Python Patrol, the Dreadnoks kind of counts for me. And of course, yeah, like the Mad Marauders, and the fact that Barbecue's just been hanging out, just not knowing what he's doing, just being like, why am I dressed like this? Why did you put me in these colors this whole time? And now he's going to get some friends, and we're going to build that sub team, which is great. Anywho, yeah, and so hang on, let's think what's left for for Slaughter's Marauders. You can, let's start at vintage. Footloose, Mutton Junkyard. Is that everyone? Footloose, Mutton Junkyard, Lowlight, Spirit, Sarge. Were there any others? I genuinely can't remember. But Footloose, obviously we need Footloose, don't we? We definitely, I personally think we need Footloose. So it'll be like a what's the word? Kind of like a pre-paint, I'd imagine, on that. Yeah, so Barbecue we've already got, of course. Footloose, Lowlight's coming, Mutton Junkyard, Sergeant Slaughter's coming, and Spirit's coming. So Mutton Junkyard is an easy repaint, done. And then Footloose is obviously going to have to be maybe either a pre-paint, or we see that figure first, or what have you. But they could get the Marauders done pretty sharp, like the original 1989 crew anyway. Then you could technically add the Renegades, Mercer, Taurus, Red Dog, who obviously appeared in that 7-pack back in 2011. You could also include, based on that, Falcon. But again, I think we would need we would need Falcon done again. We would need that like a redone head, basically. Then you technically could add Sergeant Smasher and Hardball, because they were added to the later Club Slaughters Marauders set, weren't they? So I think that's all of them at that point. And then I think if they did like a Hasbro thing or like a G.I. Joe team, that they love doing this, they could throw in some new characters that have never been in Marauders before. And I think, and this has been mentioned by many people on the streams in the past, but I think CoverGirl would be a great addition to the Marauders and would give us a repaint of that particular figure. And you never know, we could get vehicles as well, seeing as we're in the vehicle territory. So we could get that Lynx with CoverGirl. How cool would that be? I think that'd be dope. I think that would be crazy dope. Anyway, I don't remember. Wasn't Barbecue a Target exclusive when he came out? No. Barbecue was part of the 5-figure wave. He was originally supposed to be in a, when they were doing like 3-figure waves, weren't they? And then what they did was they kind of merged a bunch together, and Barbecue he was just a regular standard retail one of the crew sort of figures. He wasn't a deluxe. He wasn't, obviously he wasn't a figure with pet. He wasn't a figure with vehicle. He wasn't an exclusive in any way, shape, or form. He was just a standard issue, Mogad issue. Blonde CoverGirl, Jeffrey. Yes. So you could do like a different hairpiece, different head kind of thing, maybe. Yeah, absolutely. Paul says maybe a different head or two with Junkyard from the ones we got with the original release. I could see that, definitely. Mercer's got to be coming soon with recent media. Oh yeah, I'd love Mercer, 100%. Yeah, good shouts here, guys. Classic Color Barbecue was... What was Classic Color Barbecue? I don't remember what he was. Solo release. Was he? He wasn't in a wave. Was it Cobra Island? Was Barbecue Cobra Island? I don't recall that. It's been so long now. I'd have to have a look. Yeah, Target. Okay, Barbecue was Cobra Island, wasn't he? Okay, yeah, he was. Yeah, interesting. Did he come out with the Ram? He did, didn't he? It's interesting that the regular Barbecue was an exclusive and the Marauders one was a wave figure. Interesting, isn't it? Very, very interesting. Very weird. Anyway, yeah, with Breaker, I thought so. I thought that was the case. I just remember those two at the same time, and I knew that obviously I just forgot they were Cobra Island exclusives, because you kind of think now, don't you? Everything's thematic or sub-themed, but yeah, not in that case. Anyway, yeah, so that is Mad Marauders, Low Light, Spirit, and the Sarge. Now, like we've said in the past, or what we're thinking is that Hasbro will be doing something on late February 29th, very likely, as an event, because obviously based on this Entertainment Earth drop zone kind of drop. 10 a.m. Pacific is 1 p.m. Eastern, which lines up with what they've done in the past, with live events around 11 a.m. Eastern with a 1 o'clock, what do you call it? Pre-ordered drop. Yeah, the pre-orders. So expect that on the 29th. And expect an official announcement maybe next week. Probably not this week, but probably next week they do. Because they do them quite close, don't they? They have just dropped another... They've done literally all of the brands so far. So G.I. Joe's next. We know it's coming. Let's go. Let's effing go. And of course, what do we know so far? We've got unofficial leaks of Retro Cobra Commander, Road Pig, Heart Wrencher, Iron Grenadiers, Bat, Thunder Machine, and Snowcat. So these are all possibilities for name-only drops, name-only reveals. So yeah, that's exciting. And then, of course, you've got possibly the Stinger in there. You've possibly got Heavy Duty we could throw in there. Lots of different kind of options you could throw about at the moment for name-only reveals. And then, obviously, just things off the top of your head that could be any blooming name-onlys. Ryan wants a Payload name-only reveal. That'd be great. Yeah, probably after the Marvel Legends stream, we'll get an announcement, Scott. Yeah, you're probably right on that one. Just definitely closer to the 29th. Yes, and then of course we've got name only reveals currently, which will probably end up being digital renders to some degree. I expect to see the 4-figure wave revealed as renders. So Alpine, Iron Grenadier, the IG Bat and the other figure. I kind of, well, we can't mention yet, but I kind of expect to see those 4 figures kind of revealed as renders. I sort of expect to see the retro beachhead eels and snow serpent shown off. I expect to see the ferret as a render. I'm almost expecting Starduster Raptor and Nemesis Immortal as well. I'm expecting to see pretty much everything on screen except Leatherneck and Xandar, who are a little bit further out. So I think they're 2025. So I expect to see a lot of those. I expect to see Alpine version 1, Miguel. His kind of classic. The one that's on the screen at the moment is the one I'm expecting to see, not the shorts version. But you never know. They could pull a little fast one, and it could be old little shorts Alpine. They're not shorts. They're fairly mid-size. But yeah, we could see that. That'd be really cool. It's a great figure. Like the 4-inch modern version, I really enjoyed in both Tiger Force flavors and regular FSS flavors. And of course, obviously, the one that's based on the new Sculpt Era version. But yeah, that'd be wicked. Does Spirit's Golden Eagle have a different head sculpt, I wonder, says Eduardo. Don't know yet. We'll have to, again, this is all something for when they actually reveal it or we get better pictures of it. Chris even left Xandar for last when putting this graphic together. I did, yeah. And we're going to be talking Let's Talk Classified Xandar either later today or tomorrow. But I will, obviously, you'll know when it'll go live. Alpine with yodeling head. Yes, definitely. But I expect to see all of these bar Leatherneck and Xandar in digital render form because they tend to go absolutely nuts with digital renders now. It's like, oh, there's a 4-figure wave and a deluxe and a this and a that. Excuse me, bear with me 2 seconds. So yeah, the next up, I can't multitask. I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, so that's what I'm expecting for the digital renders, and then of course we've got digital renders that we already have that I'm expecting to see in kind of physical form. I expect to see Night Force Ripcord, Glenda, and Crazy Legs updates. Like for the Dragonfly, I expect to see for pre-orders, I expect to see Doc, Jinx, Torch, and the Night Creeper as the 4-figure wave. And I'm definitely expecting the SMS and almost certainly Norgahide. I probably expect those, and then Tripwire and Roadblock later. And I expect the Mad Marauders stuff as well later too, honestly. So yeah, that's kind of what we're expecting for the for the whole show for the 29th. We will obviously find out probably a bit more information beforehand in terms of the pre-orders. Usually we get leaks, don't we, the night before. So I'm kind of imagining like that we'll see it before we actually see it revealed and officially. And yeah, and there we go. So like I said, we'll be doing Let's Talk Classified Xandar either tonight or tomorrow. That's all prepped and ready. And then yeah, we've got so much planned. I've got so many interviews lined up. We've got Brian Flynn next week, this coming week. So we'll be talking Super 7 stuff with Brian, and the Hasbro thing will happen after the 29th now. And what was the other thing? There's so much I've just forgotten off the top of my head, but we'll get to it. We'll get there. Right, let's move on to shout outs, and we'll finish this episode out for you guys. So yeah. Okay, shout outs as per usual. Let's roll through them. So first up, shout out to Pat, who can't be on the show again. I feel like it's getting to the point where it's just me in it, basically. So yeah, Pat's shout out to Pat, and of course to Phil on Articulated Points. Go check them out. Great show. Yeah, and hopefully we'll have more episodes to check out of them very soon. But if you were here, he'd be able to tell us what's coming, and he's not. So sorry, Pat. Next up, then, of course, we have my wonderful wife, Kate, who I was just multitasking with a second ago. Big shout out to my wonderful wife, Kate, and my lovely little Phoebes, and the entire families in the UK and the US. Yeah, be looking forward to seeing everyone again soon. Trying to work out how that's going to work this year as well. So exciting times trying to book flights and all that kind of stuff. Can't wait to come back to the UK again. Can't wait to go and see the folks in Missouri as well. It's going to be great. Very, very exciting times. Bullhorn shouts out, Shuggy. He does, doesn't he? Every time. So yeah, big shout out to Kate, and yeah, having a great time at the moment. Massive shout out to Brian Sauer for the wonderful graphics, and of course, massive shout out to his other venture, Assembly Required, which is kind of announced now. More information will be coming soon. 13th annual Iowa GI Joe convention, and all we know so far is that it's probably a Destro Iron Grenadiers theme. I reckon November 8th and 9th, 2024. So more information will come out. You know, for like hotels, and you know, if you want to be if you want to be a seller there, vendor, that all that information will come out. And then I'm imagining gear kits and stuff like that as well for the show. They do a lot of cool stuff with Assembly Required, so I'm very excited to see what this one is all about as well. And of course, massive shout out to David Gillis and Brian Hickey for the More News as It's Made Kickstarter. Link in the description to go and pledge right now. It's going to have a forward by Bob Breakin, legend, Palatoy legend Bob Breakin, and very good friend of the show, very good friend, personal friend, Bob Breakin. So that is awesome news as well. So if you haven't pledged for that, go do it now. Let's get this over the line. Also, massive shout out to Scott Johnson, who posted this wonderful Tripwire original pencil and ink artwork on his socials for sale. In actual fact, $400 plus $12 shipping in the US. Amazing for this original piece of artwork, which is absolutely gorgeous, by the way. The Tripwire one, it's phenomenal. Talked about it quite a lot in the news burst earlier in the week, so I won't kind of linger too long. But amazing work, beautifully done, Scott. And then of course, Kickley's been at it again, like all week long. We've had a Destro and Despoiler. Love that. Amazing stuff. We've had Captain Gridiron. Of course, we had the Super Bowl, so big shout out to the family, the Kansas City Chiefs fans, who were very excited. And I must admit, I was very excited because I got to go to bed shortly after the touchdown. And it was like work the next day. And I was just like, I really want to go to sleep right now. But we have to watch overtime now. And then Pat Mahomes threw the touchdown, and it was like, great, let's move on. I can go to bed now. But no, it was very exciting, crazy game. But anyway, that prompted Kickley to do a Captain Gridiron's piece, and it's absolutely stunning, isn't it? Really love this, taking out a ton of troopers. And then, of course, we got Outback, another beauty. He's done so many, it's ridiculous. Oh yeah, and Skeletron have just started shipping, haven't they? I just got my I got my notification yesterday, I think, for the Robo Skull book and everything. Can't believe that is on its way as well. Like, brilliant. But yeah, Outback, phenomenal. I love this one as well. Again, just a solid piece. And Outback's a favorite of mine as well. So yeah, great stuff. And then we started to get these really cool little kind of this is full of homage. I love this one. Like if you really like zoom in, you can start seeing things that you didn't necessarily notice. Of course, you've got Serpentor and Mindbender in the foreground, sort of like about to either unveil or cover over. I think cover over the bride of Serpentor, who's being created on the desk, who looks to have 4 boobs, which is interesting, and a full-on snake face, which is kind of cool too. But obviously, they are creating this this kind of like Serpentress for Serpentor, by using some Joes in the back. We've got Cover Girl who's locked into the brainwave scanner. You've got Snake Eyes rescuing Jinx there with the blindfold on. And he's grabbing, I like the fact he's grabbing his snake to get a stiff one, Kitty said, to throw, obviously. So that's really dope. I love that. It's a great one. So big shout out to Kickley for these amazing pieces. He also, Kickley says, the first version never turns out right. I like that. Yes. So yeah, they're kind of like trying to fix what they've made here, aren't they? Yeah, I like it. A nice kind of shout there to Arise Pencil Arise and the DNA monster too. I like that, Kickley. Awesome stuff. And I love the background's great. Like the actual lab, full of like cool stuff. You've even got like the homage of the tubes in the background behind Serpentor's cape. You know, that had all the name tags on all the DNA kind of tubes. Brilliant stuff. And then of course Serpentress, which is like great. Love it. Great idea. Love the execution on this one too. It's just great. Serpentor would never have a bride. Then he'd have to share. It's amazing artwork, isn't it? It's great. Love it. Yeah, love it. Brilliant stuff. Just loving. Kickley, just keep it going, man. Just keep it going. I'm loving all these. And then shout out to Tony, the great Tonino on Instagram, of course, who posted this on Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day for those that had it. Had our I should have shouted out Kate. Should have shouted out the fact we had our anniversary on Valentine's Day. I'm just too early, aren't I, in the day? But anyway, yeah. So Tony posted this cute little render that he kind of did for Valentine's Day. It's just a joke. It's not actually happening, but of the Destro and Baroness in this kind of new deco with the. I love on Destro's collar, he's got the new Cobra Heart logo, which is obviously in the background too, but he's put it on Destro's collar to make a pattern. And I just thought it was like an animal print or just a print kind of thing. But no, it's if you zoom in, they're little Cobra love hearts. It's amazing. I think this is dope, and I'd be all over it, honestly. And I love the idea of Destro with that kind of color helmet, Kitty said. Kickley says, who in history would they take the DNA? So, like, are you talking about, who would be good DNA for the Serpentress character? Let's say Joan of Arc, maybe. Who else could we have in there DNA-wise? Joan of Arc. There's got to be more. Come on, give me. Yeah, Joan of Arc's the main one, isn't it? Cleopatra. Great shout, Yorktown Joe. Oh, brilliant. Boudicca or Boudica. Yeah, absolutely. Mulan. These are all good. I like these. Yeah, they're like Joan of Arc is the first one that jumped to mind. Cleopatra's a great shout. Thatcher. I suppose, yeah. You could, because it's bad as well, right? Who was that Hungarian serial killer? Oh my goodness. Yeah, Catherine the Great, good shout. Lady Dowager from China, Queen Elizabeth I, Anne Boleyn, Mary Read, Anne Bonny. Yeah, there's some good shouts here. I like, yeah, good question. Yeah, Mary Antoinette, absolutely. Marie Antoinette. What about Florence Nightingale? Those kind of things. But they're too nice, aren't they? They're too good. Elizabeth Bathory, yeah. Lizzie Borden, Madame Curie, yeah. There's some great ones here. This is brilliant. That's a great question as well. Anyway, let's move on because we've got to bring this to a close. So shout out to the great Tonino on Instagram, and of course Tony, of course, in the from the Hasbro G.I. Joe team. And that's it. That's the Full Force Weekly. We're all done. Thanks, guys, for our listeners, viewers, all of you guys for tuning in and obviously interacting so much and giving us so many good names for the female Serpentress DNA list. I like it. Anyway, have a great rest of your weekend. I will be back either later today, tonight, or tomorrow, but I will be back. Stay fresh cheese bags. And remember, after 3, as always, 1, 2, 3. Full force. Happy weekend. Make sure you get involved with the discussion by liking, sharing and commenting on these videos, and as always you can keep up with the show after listening by following on X, formerly Twitter, @TheFullForce, liking the Facebook page, facebook.com/TheFullForce. We've also added a brand new Instagram, so check us out there as well @TheFullForce Podcast, and if you would like to contact the show you can message us on any of those platforms with feedback and questions. We also have a Patreon page, so if you want to show your support for the show, see your name up in lights on these videos, or enjoy exclusive bonus content, then check out patreon.com/TheFullForce Podcast, or click on the link on any of the posts this podcast appears in. Full force!